Hello, I'm Ivana. I'm from the team of University of Northampton. In this presentation, I will give an outline of the ASD-EAST curriculum and the training materials that we created in our project to support specialist teachers working with children with autism. The ASD-EAST curriculum and training materials consist of 6 modules, differentiated for training specialist teachers working within mainstream schools or special school settings with children at primary school age. Each module was planned to take 2 hours. As you can see, the modules cover key areas of need of children with autism. And there is a reason why challenging behavior is the last module, because we believe that strategies teachers learn from the first 5 modules will help them in managing behavior too. Each module starts with talking about the needs of children with autism in that area, and then it shows what skills we need to teach children and provides practical strategies of how to teach these skills. I will briefly go through the content and a couple of examples from each module. The first module focuses on supporting communication. It explores the needs of students with autism in the area of receptive and expressive communication. The focus for teachers from mainstream schools was on developing verbal skills of their students, including conversation and comprehension. Training of special school teachers focused on pre-verbal skills and receptive language. This is an example of a slide from the training materials from Module 1 for mainstream school teachers. It is a helpful module of understanding the 3 aspects we need to focus on when we want to teach expressive communication. This is an example from the training materials for special school teachers. It shows teaching expressive communication through the use of pictures in everyday activities. As you can see, it suggests simple solutions that don't require financial investment. The second module focuses on strategies to support students' emotional regulation. Teach them to recognize their own feelings and emotions of other people. And especially in special school settings, it is important that adults have the skills to recognize and reflect emotional states back to the students. I will show you a couple of examples again. These are a couple of practical examples of visual strategies for students in mainstream schools that teach about the recognizing the intensity of different emotions. The second example from this module about emotional regulation is the gingerbread man activity that teachers try on themselves in the training, and then they can use it with their students. The idea is to draw on the gingerbread man, where in the body we feel anxiety, and to talk about the situations that make us feel that way. Moving on to the third module, which is about teaching social skills. Before we designed these training materials in our project, we conducted a mapping of teachers' knowledge and training needs. And we discovered that teachers had a lot of theoretical knowledge about the deficits children with autism have in social interactions. But they felt they needed more practical strategies of how to teach these skills. So that is what we provided in this module. For teachers in mainstream schools, we introduced social stories and comic strips. And for special school teachers, the focus was on enhancing their skills in supporting early play and interaction. This is a slide from the training materials for mainstream school teachers. It gives teachers the principles of how to support students, for example, structuring friendship situations. And it also provides very concrete examples of how to do it, such as ask students, what would you do if? Besides giving teachers specific strategies, We wanted them to gain a deeper understanding of the needs of their students so that they can come up with their own creative ways of teaching these skills. Here, they can learn about the development of play, which can be used for identifying the level of social skills of children in special schools. The fourth module focuses on understanding and identifying sensory needs of students with autism and gives examples of sensory strategies for individual students and classroom environments. An example from the training that explains how we can use sensory strategies to regulate and stay in the comfort zone that is optimal for learning. This module also included a practical exercise with filling in a sensory profile for a student to understand their sensory needs better. Module number 5 focuses on modifying and adapting the physical space in the classrooms, content of teaching, teaching materials, and learning outcomes. If you are interested in this topic, you can watch the video by Ron Fortuna from Target Autism in the UK, demonstrating how to set up a workstation. An example from this module that presents what we mean by physical structure in mainstream classrooms. We talked about reducing distractions and using visually organized space, schedules, and structures. For special school teachers, we provided concrete examples of how we can adapt materials in the learning environment. As behavior is the area that teachers felt they needed most support with, we dedicated the last module to empowering their competencies in managing behavior. The module promotes the idea that we need to understand the functions and the underlying reasons of challenging behavior first. So it focuses on direct and indirect assessment, and then it explains how to develop interventions and also prevent challenging behavior. Strategies are differentiated for mainstream and special schools again. An example of how behavior can be explained through the iceberg model. You can see that what is below the water was covered in the previous modules. So the last module of ASD's curriculum builds on that as well. And finally, this is an example of the discussions that we had during the trainings, thinking about what can influence our behavior and the behavior of our students as well, pointing out that seeing behavior in a wider context is important. Thank you for listening. In the next presentation, I will share how teachers felt about the trainings and how they evaluated them.